Hi there! Today I'm going to share with you my experience of learning English and what I did actually to get to proficiency level. It has been quite a long way to go, but I have been enjoying it. I think it's a nice experience to learn a language, and especially English, as this is my favorite language. I love speaking this language as it sounds like music for me. When I started to learn English, well, it was the first grade of my school. So I'm originally from Russia. Fortunately, I went to an English school. Well, what I mean by English school is actually not that all the subjects were in English, but we had more hours of English rather than in some other ordinary school. So I started to learn it from the age of 7. And first I had I think 2 hours of English a week, but later on, like in the 7th grade, 8th grade, I had 5 or 6 lessons a week, which was quite a lot again if we compare it with the experience from other schools. I actually never attended any courses, any extra courses to learn English. So I studied at school, and I would say that I spent a lot of time studying myself as well on my own. In primary school, I was pretty successful with my English as well. There was no any hard information. Everything was pretty simple. But in the middle school, I had quite a lot of troubles, I would say, with my English. I couldn't understand some of the grammar topics, and it was pain, well, you know where. And only when I got a little bit older, when I entered a university, and I entered Moscow State Linguistic University, which is the top-ranked linguistic university in Russia, I realized that actually my English is pretty good. And when I entered the university, it was already like advanced level or very close to advanced level. But I think the most complicated thing is to get from point A, when you already have advanced level, to point B, proficiency level. It's a lot of work, and especially it's hard for people who live in not in an English-speaking country. So I didn't really have any English-speaking environment around me. My parents couldn't speak any English. I could just travel to some other countries from time to time, but that was not a lot. And actually, when I was younger, as my parents were again just ordinary people, they couldn't afford to send me to some, I don't know, like English-speaking camp or just some English-speaking country for me to learn the language, although I had always been striving for that. Well, you see, you can learn a language even without going to a foreign country, especially right now when there are so many different materials and resources which you can use on the internet, online. You can find any friend online, you can watch videos, you can watch movies, series, and so on. When I was younger, it was not really affordable at that time, but when I was in high school, I started to watch series in English with subtitles, first with Russian subtitles. Then I realized that I mostly read the subtitles, so I don't really get the idea of what they are talking about in English. So I started to watch the series with English subtitles, and that was very helpful, I would say, in terms of learning a language. All in all, again, I studied at school. I watched lots of movies in English, series in English. I listened to English songs, and I didn't just listen, I tried to understand what they were singing about. And also when I was younger, when I was like, 10, 12, around that age, and I listened to Britney Spears or Christina Aguilera or Eminem. I remember I really loved these three singers. I tried to listen, then pause the audio, and then to write down what I can hear. And at that time, I think I didn't have any internet connection at that time. We didn't really have any, most families didn't have computers or anything. or it was just hard. I don't quite remember. But later, when I found this copybook with all my notes, I decided to check what I wrote there, and well, you can understand that some of the things were not really what the singers were singing. Some of the things were made up. Yeah, well, not really. Yeah, were made up, I would say. That's how I heard them, because I just didn't know the language well. Another crucial point here is self-education. And when it comes to learning anything or studying anything, a language or I don't know, anything else, self-education, I think, is the best method actually of doing anything. Because if you are really, really into a subject or just learning a language, then you will learn it. And you will definitely succeed in it. That if you know that you can find time, like your spare time for it, that means that it's really important for you. Also, when I was 18, I started to take private students, and I became like a tutor for younger children, for primary school children. And this was also really helpful because, you know, I think the best way you learn anything is when you try to explain it in your own words to another person. When you can explain a thing in your own words, then that means that you understand it. If you cannot, then you just don't understand it. And when I started to teach English, of course, my English was not perfect, and I didn't understand some of the grammar points probably. But you know, as a quite responsible person, I really prepared really well. I prepared really well for my lessons. So whenever there was some grammar topic which I was not sure about, I would always check the information and try to present this topic in such a way that the student would understand it. So if I could explain this topic to a person that this person would understand it, then definitely I would understand it as well. And that helped me immensely, I would say. When you teach somebody, even if you are not sure about your knowledge, but still you try, that is really beneficial for yourself in terms of learning a language. And the last point here is traveling. Of course, traveling is one of the main things, I think. Nowadays, I'm really envious that, you know, children can just go to another country and they can understand from the very beginning, from the outset, that why you need a language. They can see people speak in this language. They can see that it's not just, you know, a subject at school. It's an instrument, a tool which you can use when communicating with people, when dealing with people, yeah, when traveling. And it's just fantastic that now it's affordable for almost everyone, and the world is so open, and anyone can just go abroad and try and speak to anyone. Again, yeah, you don't have to go to any like private school or any English-speaking camp if you cannot afford it, but you can buy really cheap tickets to Great Britain. They are really cheap now, and just try to speak to the shop assistant, to I don't know, hotel manager, or just to some random people. That's a really good practice. Please write in the comment box what level of English you have and what you've been doing to achieve these results. I will be really glad to hear from you, and good luck with your English. See you next time.